welding for aluminum and stainless steel, and media blasting of all sorts. ESC has great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
A few showers possible early this morning, then clearing with a high of around 56. It will be windy, northwest winds gusting over 35 to 40. Tonight mainly clear, a low down to around 28. We'll see increasing cloud cover tomorrow and cooler with a high near 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves them, that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What's up? There it is. That is the intro to Old School. Jay Foreman, Austin on the ones and twos. Brought to you by the Mercado Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients and Butcher Shop located at 84th and Havelock. Every type of meat, every type of cut. Hit the butcher up and say, what's up? Austin, what's happening, my man? Is it a heat wave over there? Because I'm in Minneapolis right now. I got to tell you, Austin, it's I haven't seen my dad in a while, so I flew up here, and he lives real close to the airport. He moved over here. It was pretty cool to get off the plane and go get a quick cup of. I don't drink coffee, but I got some tea with him, and be able to go have dinner with him later. But MPLS, man, they had 14 inches of snow, I think, last week. Hey, Austin, it's a different ball game up here, player.
Man, it sure sounds like. I guess get it out of the way now before Husker baseball and the women's tournament tip off up there. That's kind of nuts. We had some rain yesterday, pretty much all night it rained, but it's mid 50s. I don't think it quite hit 60 here, but yeah, not 14 inches of snow. That's up there. Keep it there.
Yeah, it's I just got up here today, so I knew it, and but it's all good. And one thing about Minnesota is they clean the streets pretty quick. They're well built for it. But I think obviously the basketball team is going to be playing up here, at Target Center, and then the baseball team is going to be playing at the U.S. Bank Stadium. So they'll be well indoors and warm and all toasty. But speaking of toasty, things got a little hot this weekend. It wasn't just the Hellcat Huskers, beating the brakes off of these Gophers up here in Minnesota. So at least I get to walk around with my chest out in basketball. Hopefully this year we'll be able to do it in football. But the one, the only, Dylan Raiola and his dad Dom and younger brother popped in town. Obviously lit the message boards and Husker universe on fire. Looked like they had a good time. I didn't see anything besides them being at the game, but obviously I know Dylan's been here a few times, and Matt Rule's trying to keep that new relationship. Well, first of all, he rekindled it, or kind of piggyback off of what Mickey did, which was reopen it. And then obviously, you got to give him, he's been trying to forge that relationship, obviously to put, have the potential to be there at the end and make it a hard decision. And hopefully the decision is come to Nebraska. I wanted to get your thoughts on one, the reaction to Dylan being in town. And then number two, what have you heard, or what do you think the chances are that he commits eventually, whenever that is, to the University of Nebraska?
Well, it's awesome that they took that trip. I think that's a good sign for Nebraska. That's during a dead period, so they had to be really careful with the rules. But obviously, having an uncle on the football staff helps. So I'm glad to see, number one, Nebraska using that loophole. It's not against the rules. Maybe a little gray area, but as long as, they keep it on the up and up, it's just, nephew visiting his uncle, brother visiting brother with his kid. And I think,
Right.
if Nebraska can use that to its advantage, good. Because, you hear the narrative, oh, you can't recruit for Lincoln. No one wants to be there. It's cold, nothing to do. So if that's going to be the national perception, and like you said, perception can become reality, you got to do everything in your power to not break the rules, but kind of skirt them, use the advantages that you have. And you have a built-in one with Donovan Raiola on staff. Good on the PBA crowd. I mean, everyone in Nebraska knows what Dylan Raiola looks like at this point. They know that he's the number one guy and what his commitment could mean. So big props to the crowd for noticing him, for, giving him the Dylan chance. That's awesome. That's the stuff you have to do. And you hope it moves the needle. I know if I was a recruit, having 15,000 people going nuts for me in a space like that for a 500 basketball team, just imagine what that would be like when you multiply that crowd times 6 and the weather's even nicer outside. And, you're the one leading the team out of the tunnel and you're playing Iowa on Black Friday for a chance to go to the Big Ten championship game. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I'm not Dylan Raiola. I'm not in his shoes. Yeah. So props to Nebraska for, at least what we know so far, doing the visit the right way, making sure it stayed on the up and up. Big props to the crowd for, giving him a warm welcome, making him feel like he was getting the red carpet rolled out for him, even though it wasn't an official visit. It doesn't even count as an unofficial visit, but I'm sure he felt like the red carpet got rolled out. And in terms of the chance to get him, I don't know. My whole mindset this whole time, Jay, has been, I'm not going to believe that it happens until it actually happens. Until he's signed, sealed, delivered, I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to be a party pooper and say it's not going to happen, but I'm in the boat of, let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Let the coaching staff, let Uncle Donovan, keep the pedal to the metal, keep the foot on the gas pedal in pursuing him. As an observer of the program, someone rooting for it, I really hope it happens. That would be really cool. Talk about, a shot in the arm for a really new staff. But I don't, I still wouldn't predict Nebraska as the favorite.
Right. Yeah. I think it's good. The reaction, for him is obviously, look, man, his last name is a legacy here. His dad's has got his name up in the stadium. So he has Cornhusker blood and thoughts in his mind. And he has the right type of Cornhusker blood in his going through his veins, and it's part of who he is. And it's probably, a little bit of part of how he's been so successful, because Dom is a very thorough guy. He was tough. He was accountable. He was a good leader, but he played the right way and he played for the right reason. So that's all, been trickled down to, not only Dylan, but his younger brother, then also their sister that plays volleyball at TCU. So you see it's a family thing, and they're big, strong family, and they believe in family, before anything. And so it's going to be a family decision. And so, I'm sure he felt right at home, and I'm sure he's getting that treatment wherever he goes. And yeah, if Nebraska's kind of tiptoeing around the rules, so what? I mean, at the end of the day, it's his brother, and he can go up and see him anytime. And heck, I'd like to see him up here every weekend, just because I like Dylan, and I do, man. He's a when I see him, he knows he ain't getting no leeway with Uncle Jay, because I'm treating him just like a little young punk, but he's humble. He's a humble kid, and as far as Nebraska getting him, I'd say it's about 50-50, and that's a good chance. I think before, when Scott was there, it was probably about, at one point in time, it was like 99.9%. Then it went to 1%. And then, I think, Matt Rule and those guys are doing what they need to do to rekindle that relationship, and they know how important he is. Look, first of all, he's the number 1 overall recruit, okay? And he's legit. Dude can throw the ball. He's got leadership skills. He's big. He's everything that's advertised. He's 6'3", 220. And when he walks around, he's 6'3", 220. He's not, he's not 6'3" on paper and shows up 6'1". He can make every throw that you want, and he can only get better. And they got to recruit him. They got to recruit him the right way. And there's one thing I will tell you: do not expect Donovan to be the one that needs to recruit him. That's his uncle. So he's going to be his uncle long after he's done playing football in college and in the pros. So I hope Nebraska knows that Matt Rule, Satterfield, and the offensive coaches and whoever their lead recruiters better be the ones that are calling Dom, better be the one that's calling Dylan, and more important, better be the ones that are taking care of the mom, because she runs a pretty strict household. And so that's the thing that I like about Dom and those guys. They don't don't try to push it on the uncle to do it. It's your job, and they want you to do your job. And so what they want he wants to be treated within reason, like any other student athlete, football player, and recruited the same. And that's what you have to do. And maybe I think that was a mistake before. And I'm pretty sure Matt Rule and those guys are maybe taking some notes and know what to do afterwards. And so I think it's going to be good if Nebraska can get him. I think the best thing Nebraska can do is make it a super hard decision and then pull it out at the end. But I think if Nebraska goes and has a good year and shows that they're doing the right things to build a team, and not think that, granted, to get Dylan, you get the number one quarterbacks, no different than Texas getting Arch or somebody like Arch Manning, is that, you gotta understand, yeah, it's important, but don't look at him like you're the savior, like he's going to be the one to turn the lights on and lights off at the University of Nebraska, because the one thing Dom knows and Dylan knows, they need good people around them, and Dylan will make all those receivers and running backs and offensive linemen and tight ends and everybody look a lot better. But if you get a whole bunch of guys that can't play dead and aren't playing for the right reasons, you're not going to have a quarterback like Dylan playing for you, and if you do, not very long. So I'm sure they know that. And also, one thing I really like is anytime you get any type of recruit, right? Any type of big recruit, once they get here, the onus and the pressure, a lot of it falls on the coaches, right? It's your job as a coach to make them better, to get the most out of them, and develop them. And now it's a relationship where the players have to work for it. But one thing I know about Dom and his kids, they're going to be workers. And so now it's up to you, once you get it, if it does, we do get the commitment, which I, sure as heck hope they do. Not only for Dylan to come here, but then also you bring Dom. I like kicking Dom's butt all the time, and everything that we do. And plus I get to bust him up. I'd be able to see him at least 8 times a year, or however many home games that we get. I get to bust his chops. And so, I love the whole family, so I like them all. So it'd be good, for he coming. I think it'd be a good fit for him. But ultimately, they're going to make the best decision for them. And Nebraska's, definitely in the mix, for where they were. And that's also give credit to Mickey Joseph and those guys to immediately rekindling it, but then also give credit to Matt Rule and those guys for grabbing a hold of the baton and trying to bring it over the finish line, because they know how important good players like that are, let alone good families, but then also quarterbacks as well. Your team is only going to go as far as generally how your quarterback can play, and Dylan can play, and Nebraska's trying to get him here to where I read. It'd be great if he comes in and does really well, and you get 2 of those knuckleheads up there, and then the younger brother comes in and does it as well. So I know that's been something that's been talked about, and but it's also up to Matt Rule and those guys to make it come to fruition, and that's recruit, and honest recruiting, and have a plan. And everything that you say, one thing I know about Dom, he doesn't need, don't snowball him. You just got to just come correct. If you say you're going to do this, do that, and just do it. That's how you get a lot of kudos and check marks into the Nebraska side of the box. And if they do that, they'll be well ahead of everybody else, because I don't think they're afraid of a challenge either. And hopefully it all works out. Time is ticking, because he's about to start his senior year. So there is no more, there's no more 25. He's at 24. So, it's do or die right here for everybody that's trying to recruit him.
Right. It's like you and Kenny have been saying too the last couple of weeks. Good players want to be coached. The best players want to be coached. I'm sure the families want that honesty too, right? Tell them what you can do and then deliver, because they know their kid's good. Dominic Raiola knows what Nebraska can offer, and they're getting the red carpet rolled out for him. So just, be honest with them, be direct with them. And I also think, Jay, Nebraska's in a really fascinating spot based on the company they're keeping in this recruitment. I mean, Oregon is Oregon, little flashy, maybe not, a successful program as the reputation would have you believe, but still a good, solid program. Your other competition is USC with, the best quarterback coach in at least 15 years we've seen in college, with the guys Lincoln Riley has, put up numbers with at the college level and set on to be good pros. Oh, and you're in California with all the skill position players, a heart could ever desire as a quarterback. Oh, and your other competition then is Georgia. All they are is 2-time defending national champions. Some of the most draftees in the league. So there's not going to be maybe as much pressure on you as a quarterback with a defensive-minded head coach in Kirby Smart, the guys that he brings in and helps coach up. So on the one hand, it's kind of shocking to see Nebraska in that company, given, where the program has been on the field record-wise. But like you said, that's a testament to Mickey Joseph and the work that he put in with that staff to get back on the Dylan Raiola radar, to Matt Rule and staff for as soon as they get in, hitting the ground running, making him, a priority, but making him feel like a priority first and foremost. And that's why it's hard for me to say that Nebraska is the favorite in a race like this, given the other schools in consideration. But you also can't write Nebraska off because of the record, because of all those soft factors and really just the full court press Nebraska has been putting on. It's a really fascinating spot that, honestly, Jay, I didn't know if I would ever see the day Nebraska was in the mix for a legitimate number one prospect, at least in the next 10 years from when, Scott Frost got fired. But to have it, the very next off season that Nebraska's in the race for not just a number one rated guy at a position, but the number one overall player in the class, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like I said, it's a testament to what Mickey and those guys did. And immediately, started recruiting like during the season, even though, they were coaching for their jobs. And that takes a lot of wherewithal right there as well. And then Matt Rule and those guys came in and they, didn't bury their head in the sand, and they knew it's somebody they need to pay attention to and try to recruit. So, and it's not that hard. Look, he's the best, rated, highest rated player in 2024. But sometimes you can get coaches that come in and of course they're going to do it their way, but then say, I don't really need to do it because I have time, with the long contract, you can, and we might've seen that before, look, we can start over and start with a freshman. Joe Burrow kind of wanted to come, boom. You don't want to make that same mistake again. And so, or at least not put forth the effort so you can walk away and say, look, we did everything that we possibly could in order for us to secure, Dylan Raiola. And so you got to give them, props. They're trying, and that's as they should. And really, to be honest with you, should you give them props for doing their job? Most likely not. It's a layup. It's an easy kid to recruit. He's a legacy kid. There's a lot of connections there to Dom, both locally that you could use to make him feel comfortable, which obviously would make their family feel comfortable. Then to get Dylan to come here, and so we'll see where it shakes out. I think it's the recruiting has been probably since Callahan has probably been suspect at best, but the ranking has been good. I think really, what people need to understand, real quick before we go to break is, your recruiting number or profile or whatever you want to call it really doesn't mean anything when you sign them. It's where they're at in 2 or 3 years and the retention rate. There needs to be a ranking for retention rate, guys that stick around, and then also who develops, that develop from a 3-star to maybe end up being a 4 or a good player. That's where you really know what you got. And so we struggle, but I think with Dylan comes a lot of notoriety and possibilities to land some other big time recruits. So that's a good first segment. We had to touch on it. Next, we're going to talk about these Huskers going into the Big Ten tournament, what tomorrow night means, what everybody else has done, how the Penn State game could affect or could have helped them or affect them, how they're playing, so forth and so on. First segment on a snowy day up here in Minneapolis and a great day down in Lincoln. Old School, Austin and Jay Foreman. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with DP&J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodmen is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodmen of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Dana Trucking. Learn more and apply today at danatrucking.com.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in West O and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
A few showers possible early this morning, then clearing with a high of around 56. It will be windy, northwest winds gusting over 35 to 40. Tonight mainly clear, a low down to around 28. We'll see increasing cloud cover tomorrow and cooler with a high near 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Old School with B1G on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming back in. There it is. We're coming back in. Second segment. Austin, Jay Foreman, Old School. Got a quick question from the text line. Asked if Dylan Raiola would commit with the activity in the portal pick up with receivers and linemen. Well, Derek, in the car in Lincoln, that portal activity with Matt Rule is always on and popping. I think if anything, anybody hits the portal, they looking. So I don't think that'll change much with Dylan, but, possibly kind of like how Deion Sanders, when he went to Colorado, the portal activity, not only people got in the portal, but they started reaching out. So I think, it's a transcendence type of recruit, and it could, play off into positive aspects throughout the whole team. And so we got to get one domino first before we can knock them all down. But onto these Hellcat Huskers, I think they took a big step, showing that they had some maturity, right? There's one maturity, like I always say for a kid, like kids where they say, yes, sir, no, ma'am, and, clean up after themselves. And there's sports maturity to go against a team that you're favored, to beat, that is ripe for the picking, and you need to beat them. And then you also need to win in a sense of to double down and show people what you did before wasn't a fluke. Now, is Minnesota tops at the Big Ten? No, they're at the very bottom. But Nebraska went into overtime with a 1-point victory the first time they played. Nebraska's gotten better. Minnesota's been struggling a little bit. Minnesota's had leading up to that game, a pretty hectic travel schedule. So they're a little tired. So you had to beat them. It was always, a 10-plus point game. Got a little dipped in there, got close, but Nebraska was able to pull away with consistent and spread out scoring, which you like. That's what Fred Hoiberg's offense is known for. It's not all dependent on Keisei Tamanaga to hit bombs, but everybody else kind of got busy. And obviously Sam Griesel had a phenomenal game. As I think I said, earlier in the year that, the second half of the Big Ten season, I think you're going to see consistent in a lot, more scoring and dominant play from Sam Griesel. So, and then obviously Sam Hoiberg had a really good game, and he's been playing, lights out, and that's what you need. You need guys to step up, next man up. But look, man, the Huskers right here, they worked their tail off and have dealt with a ton of adversity, for a team that's not known as a basketball school, and everybody's not expecting much of them. And it's in a total about face new identity in the program, and as a roster to get to this point. There's not too many people in the Big Ten or even lifelong Husker fans would have thought they had been here at this point in time. But I want to ask you, Austin, with 2 games left, and I'll tell you this right now: this is going to go into your answer. Before the game, Nebraska was in the bottom 4. That means that they would be playing on Wednesday. Now, after this weekend, Nebraska is number 10, so I think they would be playing on Thursday. That's a big step for a program. That's a big step if you're able to finish this thing off right, to add to your resume, to put it, not slide it over, but slap it on the table into the decision makers. What do you think is number one, going through the player's head, number one, going into, playing, next or tomorrow against Michigan State? And then number 2, what do you think if Nebraska is able to pull off this victory tomorrow against Michigan State? What do you think this would mean for this program? Because I think this would be a monumental victory against Michigan State.
It absolutely would be. I'll start with the second question first. Yes, Fred Hoiberg hasn't beaten Michigan State yet. No better time for it than tomorrow. Plain and simple. Fred Hoiberg hadn't beaten Maryland before the overtime win at PBA. Wasn't a better time for it than that to help get back to 500. That did get you back to 500. You beat Minnesota, you get above. So, getting another first knocked off would be huge. Beating Tom Izzo would be big. That would be, I think it would still be a quad 1. It's right there on the borderline of a quad 1 or a quad 2 win, which goes a long way. I mean, you want as many of those as you can possibly get. So in the sense of the big picture, yes, it's a step in the right direction to, beat a big name program like Michigan State, even if they're not, atop the conference, not playing up to their, blue blood kind of name. It's still a big win. That's still a team that, you look up and down the roster, more recruiting stars, probably more talented. Tom Izzo, Fred Hoiberg's a darn good basketball coach, but he doesn't have Tom Izzo's resume. So Nebraska's going to be an underdog. They got their moment in the sun as a favorite against Minnesota. Wasn't always pretty, like you said, but they handled it. They took care of business. They found a way to win the game. They're underdogs these next 2. So beating Michigan State as the underdog, is another notch in your belt, another good win that helps, build up for, if you beat Michigan State, that's an NIT team. I think that's an NIT resume. If not safely, you feel like you have at least a 60, 70% chance of getting in. So that would be huge from that standpoint. And what was the first question again? Sorry, I rambled too long.
Talking about what do you think is going through the player's
Oh, yeah.
mind? Going, look, this is a huge win. I mean, it'd be a huge game. You haven't done it before, but you see it and you've came this far, but you got to get through almost like your ultimate test, which is Tom Izzo and those Spartan Dogs.
Right. I hope that that's all that's on the players' mind, because all that needed to be on their minds on Saturday was Minnesota. Jay, that was a perfect sort of trap game scenario. Not that the record's good enough to, have a trap game where you can be looking ahead, but I would be shocked if there weren't, a lot of eggs from the players in this upcoming Michigan State basket. That's a, borderline top 25 team, top 10 program in college basketball, the way Izzo's built it. There's a lot riding on this game. We just talked about the big picture, but even in the context of this season, in getting a postseason berth for the first time under Fred Hoiberg. So it seemed like the players, had their heads screwed on straight against Minnesota, which is a good sign. And now you can't be looking ahead to Iowa. Your eggs are in this basket for Michigan State. Don't worry about postseason. Don't worry about what happens in Chicago for the Big Ten tournament. You've got to be all in on this Michigan State game, on defending your home court, keeping that home record looking the way it is. Because if that focus slips for even a second, you miss the opportunity. Michigan State, the way they like to run in transition, even off of made baskets, can catch even teams that are prepared for it off guard a few times a game. And we've seen Nebraska doesn't really blow teams out, so you need to be locked in all 40 minutes, both ends of the floor. You have to, find a way to keep that big picture goal of postseason in mind, but you can't make that your focus, because you don't get there if you lay an egg against Michigan State. You don't get there if you go on the road and get blasted by Iowa after that. And really, I think, a good example to look back on, obviously, your teams playing for national championships weren't just scrapping and clawing to get to 500, but you had that sense of, the bigger picture is compete for a national championship, get to the postseason, make it count. But from the way I hear you talk and other, guys on the team talk, you still had to lock in week to week, focus on that week's game plan and use them, almost like building blocks and keep that big picture in your mind, but toward the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's huge to be, the focus is what you need, because that's what, lead to your work habits and, obviously your fundamentals and everything you need to play in these big games. There's a lot of pressure. It's probably going to be sold out again, 8:00 prime time. The eyes of the Big Ten are watching. And like you said, Michigan State likes to run off of makes or misses. They're always going to be a physical and tough team, so they're going to challenge you physically. Mentally, I think they're going to challenge you as well. But also, look, last time Nebraska played Michigan State up there, Michigan State moved that ball really, really well. Even when Nebraska did rotate well on defense or quickly, they were able to get some good shots. And it was the first game Tyson Walker really had his coming out party from, coming back off an injury from the previous year. Was against them, and he's been on a tear the last two games. When they beat Indiana by, I think, 15 points, he had 23, and a loss to Iowa, which was a crazy game where Michigan State had the control of the game all the way up until Iowa started hitting threes, YOLO bombs, and then lost in overtime. Tyson Walker had 31 points. And so the focus defensively, yes, we're going to lock in, but we know what we need to do. We need to find a way to slow down Tyson Walker, because as Michigan State, up until this game at Iowa, has shown you that they have been on a little bit of a tear. They beat Indiana pretty easily, right? And so when they've done that, that let everybody, they put the Big Ten on notice, put the NCAA tournament on notice, and it was led by Tyson Walker, and everybody else fed off of that. And so what Nebraska has to do is, one, use this home crowd, use this situation to our advantage. Michigan State is thinking about Nebraska. They know the team that they beat up there in East Lansing isn't the one that they're going to face tomorrow night. Michigan State is probably just touching. Right. Yeah. They are touching down tonight, probably right about now, and they are studying Nebraska, what they've done well. And this is all coming off an ugly loss or an embarrassing loss towards the end of the game against Iowa at Iowa City. So the turnaround for them is quickly. So it could, work to their advantage. Coming off a 112-106 loss, which you expect not ever for Michigan State, because they're a defensive team to give up 112 points. but it could be some of that hangover of how did we lose that game? We couldn't hit free throws down the end of the stretch. Tyson Walker as well. We lost our way. Coach Izzo is definitely probably on them in their walkthrough, where maybe they had a practice thinking of how did we not execute into the game situations, what he's known for. And then that also gives confidence to Nebraska. And here's two reasons why. Number one, Michigan State's let you know they have a chink in their armor, right? So they are beatable, right? It's like when Rocky finally cut open Ivan Drago. Number two, they have a mental advantage if they can get to the point where the game is tight. Nebraska has shown they can pull away when it's close, whether it's getting to overtime, scratching and clawing, getting to overtime, pulling away, or closing out a game and pulling away at the end of the game. And so Nebraska has a little bit more of a mental advantage, but they still got to go out and work for it. You know, Michigan State's going to come in inspired. It's going to be up to Nebraska to go out there and play the way Nebraska has been playing and take the game away from it. And that's what Michigan State makes you do. They make you go beat them, but it's also they're beatable this year. But you just got to go out and do it. And I think Nebraska matches up well with them. Essentially, Michigan State doesn't have, you know, a Mateen Cleaves or somebody like that where you think he's a next level player. They're a good team. Tyson Walker's been on a tear. But I think if Nebraska does a really good job of always having eyes on him and a body to him, I think they can slow him down. I think teams this last couple of weeks, as is, you know, you get worn out and defense isn't as fun, and you get towards the end of the season, Tyson Walker is starting to get, you know, his legs are starting to come back to him, and he's starting to really get off on people. So, you know, Nebraska's got to be aware of him, and don't give him nothing easy, and, you know, stick around and then pull away at the end or go out and take control of the game. I think Michigan State's right for the picking because Nebraska's playing a lot better basketball than they had before. And Michigan State played a pretty special brand of offense when Nebraska played them up there in East Lansing. So now all that's off the table. And when you're coming off a loss into a big win, both of them right now, when you look at the Big Ten rankings now, Michigan State's number 9, Nebraska's 10. Nebraska wins this game, I think there still would be behind Michigan State because I think Michigan State has one more victory and it's split, right? But Nebraska has one more loss in the loss column, but Michigan State would be 9-9 in conference. Nebraska would be 9-10, but that would secure Nebraska kind of in that 10 spot potentially because Wisconsin and Penn State have a hard schedule here coming down these last 2 games. And so we'll dive into that a little bit more in the top of the hour, I'd say, Austin, you know, what ifs and the scenarios and what Nebraska needs to do. But we're going to go to a short break or go to a break right here. Then we're going to have a short segment. And then we're going to have a couple questions, NFL questions. I always like this because of DP and these Commanders. They released old Carson Wentz. So I want to get your take on that and also with the Bears. So Austin and Jay Foreman, Old School. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably not touch the fuse box.
Sip, do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-665-4650 or online at ambitionelectric.com.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in West O and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, pricerightauto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Me
Sure.
too.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts, guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Lincoln. Hopcat is your pregame headquarters for basketball and volleyball all season long. Hopcat is located at 6th and P in the Haymarket. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
A few showers possible early this morning, then clearing with a high of around 56. It will be windy, northwest winds gusting over 35 to 40. Tonight mainly clear, a low down to around 28. We'll see increasing cloud cover tomorrow and cooler with a high near 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back. Austin, Jay Foreman, old school, short segment at the bottom of the first hour. Austin, I know DP's traveling, but I want to get your take on my man Carson Wentz. You know, he's almost like he's the hot potato. Nobody wants to get, be held with at the end. You know, that he goes from a number 2 pick, rookie of the year, could have been the MVP that one year, and it seems like he's been on a downward spiral after he tore his ACL. And then the Eagles were able to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. He hasn't been able to find a home or some consistent play. What do you think about the Commanders obviously releasing Carson Wentz? You know, you think that was probably premeditated or influenced by the signing of Eric Bieniemy as their new offensive coordinator?
I wouldn't be shocked if it was partially, due to Bieniemy coming in. I'm sure he evaluated the quarterback position when he, thought about the job, what it would mean to take it. And like you said, bit of a fall from grace for Carson Wentz from number 2 overall pick to leading a team, to the doorstep of the playoffs, only to get injured, have to hand your team over to someone else, see them go on to win the Super Bowl. And up and down, mostly down, occasionally up year in Indianapolis, they get rid of you. And even if it wasn't the coaches and GM's decision, the owner, Jim Irsay, pushed all those chips off the table. He pushed them all in to go get him because Frank Reich wanted him. He pulled all those chips right back to get rid of Carson Wentz to the Commanders, who sprung on him. And I get the Colts gamble on him at the time. Carson Wentz's value is probably at the lowest it had been at that point. So I can understand, Frank Reich wanting Carson Wentz in the building because he was more talented physically than Phillip Rivers was, because he did have his best year, with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator in Philly. But not smart of Washington to go get him to give up what they did for it. And again, it's just par for the course with what we saw Carson Wentz come out to be. It's the Arrested Development. No, it didn't work for those people, but it might work for us sort of situation. And it didn't. So it's too bad, but I don't even know who has more value at this point to an NFL team, Carson Wentz or Baker Mayfield. Like, they're in kind of a similar boat.
Yeah, I think they both have shown. Well, you know what? I think Baker Mayfield does. I think those few games that he got out. I don't think Baker's at that point yet, but I think what Baker did was he went out there and first of all, he went to Carolina where it seemed like Carolina didn't really want him. It was like, all right, we'll take him because Darnold isn't very good, and we got it. We need a guy, and he ended up starting and had a couple good games at Carolina, but then fell out of favor very, very quickly, and he got hurt, obviously, behind that offensive line, and then he went out to the Rams, and he arrived on a Tuesday, and he was able to win a game on Thursday. And, and he played pretty well for those last few games. I think he was humbled, but then also he used it as fuel and did pretty well. And let's not forget, going out there and playing under Sean McVay gives him a little bit more of a leg up than, say, Carson Wentz that just showed this year he looked like he couldn't play dead. Now, I will say this for Carson Wentz. Stat-wise, he had a better season than it looked on the field. I think Carson Wentz's biggest problem is when he plays good, it's okay, it's good. But when he plays bad, he plays really bad, and it seems like it's always at the most inopportune times. When, let's look at it, the Colts, they go down to Jacksonville, an injury-riddled Jacksonville Jaguars team. It's a must-win. They get into the playoffs. And let me tell you something about owners. I know we got to go to break right here. Is as long as you make the playoffs, they do not care what your record is. And Indianapolis controlled their own destiny, had one of the top defenses in the league, and he's getting paid handsomely everywhere he goes. And so you're figuring you can't muster up one win. And then the way they lost to Jacksonville spilled over into
Las Vegas the week before it.
Right, yeah. But the Jacksonville game, look, the lasting memory is the lasting memory. And so, you can make excuses for the Las Vegas game if you win the Jacksonville game. So, look, I think he needs to probably go and try to figure out what he needs to work on if he wants to continue to play football. And he can't come into training camp expecting to be the starter because he hasn't been playing like a starter, even though he's been paid like a starter, which it seems like is the probably going trend for a lot of NFL teams. But that's our first hour. Austin, Jay Foreman, Old School. We're going to go to a break. And you know what? We're going to spend the first segment, I think, talking about the women's basketball team and their upcoming Big Ten tournament up in here to the NPLS. So when we come back, we're going to cover the Amy Williams-led Cornhuskers. They can't be the Hellcats. We maybe the Lady Hellcat Huskers. We're going to call them that or something. I got to make up a name for them. So when we come back, hopefully we can get some texts and some people give us some names for the Lady Huskers coming up to the Big Ten tournament next week. Austin and Jay Foreman.
You're listening to Old School with DP and J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
A few showers possible early this morning, then clearing with a high of around 56. It will be windy, northwest winds gusting over 35 to 40. Tonight mainly clear, a low down to around 28. We'll see increasing cloud cover tomorrow and cooler with a high near 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC fabrication and sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless steel and media blasting of all sorts. ESC is great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
Veterans, do you know what local, state, and federal benefits and services you're eligible to receive? Do you want help navigating the application or appeals process? Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. You've served our country, now let us serve you. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves them, that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back. Jay Foreman and Austin, Old School. You hear the Ed Lover. That's Old School, actually, from Yo MTV Raps right there. We are back. Old School brought to you by the Mercado Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients and Butcher Shop located at 84th and Havelock. Every type of meat, every type of cut. They have their own sauces, spices, pasta, seafood. They have their own jerky. They probably have their own candy. You know, they got everything underneath the sun. I tell you, I love going up in there, and the food tastes great. So we appreciate their support. Top of the hour, 5 o'clock hour. Before we went to break, I said we wanted to talk a little bit about the Lady Huskers because I think they found their rhythm a little bit. Last 2 games, it was always good for them to win on senior night, even though they don't have a lot of seniors. But they have some players that seem like they've been playing forever, but it's always good for them to win on senior night and to go into the Big Ten tournament, on an uptick, which is obviously winning. Obviously, it hasn't probably been the best year for Nebraska as far as where they're at is as far as where their win losses. I mean, obviously, when you make the tournament, I think they had expectation to be a little bit more consistent. But I think what this year is, it's the perfect example of 2 years ago, I think they fought and they probably got overlooked for being in the tournament. They made it. And then now they're on everybody's radar screen. Teams have gotten better. You're not sneaking up on anybody. And everybody's looking at, say, hey, we got to play Nebraska. We got to give them their best shot. So then now they're, going into the Big Ten tournament, going to try to make some hay. So, and this is a year that, the Big Ten has 5 teams ranked, Illinois and Purdue, which is a little bit ahead of Nebraska, and the win-loss column and games behind. They've had better years than they usually have had. And so Nebraska right there at 8-10, is looking to make some noise once they get into the tournament. I think they'll have a good draw. I'm not sure who they play, Austin. I'm going to look right here, but
they
I
got
think
Michigan
Nebraska is the type
first round in the 8-9.
Yeah, and I think they match up well against Michigan State. Michigan State, Nebraska's beaten the first time, and so they get to play them again. It was a tough game, but I think Michigan State plays kind of a la like the Michigan State men, tough, gritty, physical. I think Nebraska has been playing really well the last couple games, and they've had some consistent scoring, from bench players and guys, or your females or ladies that normally have been scoring. And I think, it's something that was a little unique. I don't know if it was senior day or not. I don't think Alexis Markowski started, and then she kind of went off this last game. So I think it was a little bit of an inspiration, but then also I think it was maybe a little motivation tactic. And so it was good to see them win. They played well. Jazz Shelley has been actually pretty consistent this year. I think Hybe and her are going to really play big dividends in this game against Michigan State, because I think it's going to be a tight game, and it's going to come down to free throws and guard play. And that's where Nebraska feels like they have an advantage over a majority of teams that they play in the Big Ten. Because when you think of Jazz Shelley, right? She had 19.6 assists and 13 boards. She's not very big, right? And the Australian assassin goes in there at all, 5'9", and gets in there and get busy. A little smiling face goes in there and sets the tone. Now, what that does is what she does a good job at. Nebraska defenses did a really good job of forcing Northwestern to shoot some shots that they necessarily wouldn't want, right? Long rebounds. She gets it, get into the break, control the tempo, and be efficient. That's where you like the 6 assists, too. So, I think Nebraska's starting to play well. I think I expect them to play well in the Big Ten tournament, but I wanted to give them a little bit of this first segment because of, look, a little bit of a downturn. You could have very easily, tapped out. He had some injury, right? Injury, obviously, to a big player in Widener this year, who was a very, very good player that came out of nowhere last year, but a tempo setter. You had to recover from that, kind of like a la Fred Hoiberg and the Hellcat Huskers. Now you got the Hellcat Lady Huskers, which I think they start a little bit faster than the boys or than the men. But they're able to rebound 2 wins in a row, and they look a lot better, Austin. That's the thing. The optics, the eye test, they look a lot better. The passing is better and crisper. The efficiency on offense is better. The defensive intensity is better. And the ability to fight through some adversity is really, really good, or has been better. Because, look, when you lose 4 games in a row, right? You lost to Illinois, you lost to Michigan. Okay, you lost to them by 5. That's a tough game. Okay, then you lose a 95-92 game to Minnesota, which it was defense was optional. Okay, and then you have the hangover, and you get a 20 burger put on you against Iowa. Then you turn around and say, you know what? We got to pull up our socks and tighten up our shoes a little bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and bust Illinois' head open to the white meat on the road to let you guys know that we're for real, and then we're going to do it again on senior night, Michigan State, 11:30, March 2nd. I don't feel sorry for them, but the Amy Williams-led Huskers are really going to hopefully do some work. What do you think?
Yeah, getting these 2 wins in a row to end the regular season is big. You want to be playing your best basketball come March, and Nebraska's played better, in these 2 wins than it did in the 4 losses. But I still don't think we've seen Nebraska basketball's best from this team consistently all year. On the one hand, that's a little worrying because it's a little late to flip that switch. But here's the thing. It's going to be March when they play next. Crazy things happen in March. This is a team that, like you said, made it to the NCAA tournament last year, has the talent level. We know Jazz Shelley's a good player. We know what Sam Hybe can be. We know what Alexis Markowski can be. If Izzy Bourne is your 3rd or 4th option, you got some talent. You got some girls that can, put the ball in the basket, and that's a good thing to have. Now's the time to have that sense of urgency and really, live up to what we all think their talent can be. The first time Nebraska played Michigan State, they got off to a pretty big lead. Michigan State clawed all the way back to tie it. Nebraska found a way to win late. Same thing against Northwestern. Both of those wins preceded that 4-game losing streak. So the warning signs were there for Nebraska against Michigan State the first time, but they found a way to win. And really, that's what you have to do this time. The 8-9 matchup is supposed to be, one of the closest ones in the opening round. The 2 teams are right next to each other, and you get your crack at the 1 seed if you win. You can't look past Michigan State because last season it was a 3-point win for Nebraska in the regular season. This year, a 4-point win. I expect this to be a 1 or 2 possession game. It's what seems to happen with these 2 teams. And then you take your chances with Indiana, a team that you played to a draw through regulation on the road in Assembly Hall. You took, number 1 team in the conference, number 1 overall seed, and right now a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament bracket to overtime on their home court. On a neutral court, you should have, every reason to believe you can hang with that team again. And Jay, this is a women's team that it needs a win, if not 2, to get its way, right, back in the big dance. They're above 500 right now, which is good at 16-13, and not at risk of falling below 500. But if you beat a team in Michigan State that's pesky and tough, you parlay that into, you knock the rust off the night before. Hope Indiana has some rust, come out, punch them in the mouth early, find a way to get that one. That's huge. Right now, according to the ESPN bracketology, Nebraska is the 2nd team out of the field. A win over Indiana, coupled with an Oregon loss and one of the other teams that's in the last 4 in ahead of them, probably has Nebraska in the field. Probably a play-in game as an 11 seed, but that's about where Nebraska was last year in the 7-10, 6-11 type of game. So, despite the ups and downs, everything that, was on the table for this team to start the season is still there. The season isn't lost, but you can't wait anymore. You have to play, all 40 minutes, start to finish, with that sense of urgency to still make the season what you wanted it to be when it started.
Yeah, I mean, look, you are where you are right now, and you got to make the most of it, and that's what I think they've done. So you got to get, I want to focus on that, and that's obviously the positive part. They went through a little bit of lull, a little woe is me. Went up there and lost a game that could have been, you're thinking ahead. If we beat Minnesota, you kind of throw a game up against Iowa, And then next thing you know, you go up and lay an egg in Minneapolis, 95-92. Yeah, you could talk about the calls at the end of it. And Amy Williams said herself, we did not play any type of defense, and that's not what this team is built on. You go home against Iowa. Caitlin Clark flop a lot or miss flop a lot. Well, she's a great player. I think the flops are just outrageous, but you know what? Rest fall for it, and you get beat by 20. But this lets you know the culture of the team, the players and the leadership to turn around, to go on the road again, which you could have just let it just kind of, I like how Austin, have you ever seen it where they have a bucket of water, at a park or something, maybe Great Wolf Lodge, and then it tips over another, then it just splashes on everybody. Well, they stopped it. They put their finger in the hole in the dam and went up there to Illinois and got it together, and then obviously doubled down in Northwestern, a game that where it's senior day, you can kind of lose focus, but this team was extremely focused, and maybe that Minnesota game and that 20-point loss to Iowa was a wake-up call. And look, Nebraska could say, hey, look, Iowa's a great team. They're having a great year this year, but are they 20 points better than us? And did we play or did they beat us by 20 points, or did we give them a little bit of access to beating us by 20 points? And so those are the self-evaluation that they had, and they did a good job of it, of going back to it. And I got a little name for them. Huskers from the anonymous texter 1634. So that's what we're gonna call them, Huskers. Starting the second against Michigan State. So, I think beat Michigan State, play well, and obviously you'd like to have 2 victories. I think they sit really, really good on trying to get back to the tournament, and I think it's a team that could cause some people some trouble. I think that with Nebraska, it's going to be about matchup, right? They can get that matchup. If they can get in the tournament this year, I think they have the experience of which they didn't have last year. See, that's what we talked about. I wish they got in the year before when they really jumped on the scene, and they didn't get in. And then they, last year would have been a little bit, easier on the experience side. They would have done well, but this year they handle Michigan State and see who comes up next, and they handle that. I think once you get past Michigan State, and whoever is playing in that game, that they play the winner, could be an upset victory and a better matchup for Nebraska. So, none of that means anything until they got to handle their business. But, I want to give them the props. Amy Williams, those guys, and those staff and those young ladies represented well the last 2 games after a 4-game slide. So I also want to get back into Nebraska basketball on this, Austin. The bottom half of this Big Ten men here is crazy. I don't know if you looked at it. Penn State was beating the brakes off of Rutgers in Happy Valley, and somehow, some way, let Rutgers come back and beat them. And now that Nebraska's leapfrogged them in the standings, and so that was a huge loss for Penn State. That was a big win for Nebraska, in the sense of they were able to get in the top 10, not having, as of right now, right as of today, if the Big Ten tournament started, they will be playing on Thursday, which is huge. You would never think that Nebraska is going to be playing on a Thursday in the Big Ten tournament. And so it's huge. And so that loss, and when you look at this Penn State team in the last 2 games that they have, right, and you think of, I think at the end of the season, whether it's football, basketball, men's or women's basketball, volleyball, or anything like that, you think about momentum. Who's playing the best basketball? So obviously Penn State, with that ugly loss against Rutgers at home, right? It could have some lasting effects, right? So they lost on their home court after winning by almost 20, 59-56 loss. Now they play at Northwestern on March 1st, 8 p.m. primetime game. Northwestern is playing some good basketball right now. Penn State is not going on the road after giving a game away against an injury-depleted Rutgers team, even though they're defensive-minded, going up against a Northwestern team that scores at a pretty good clip and has really good guard play, which could be the kryptonite to Jalen Pickett, with his guard, the way he plays guard, which is kind of like a power forward and an assist man. And then they have their last game, March 5th, against the 21st ranked Terrapins, Maryland Terrapins, who are playing really, really well, even though Nebraska beat them, just a few games ago here in Lincoln. They actually are playing a lot better. They're scoring more efficiently. They're really, really good on the defensive end. and they're getting consistent scoring from all 5 of their starters and their 2 guys off the bench. So if I'm Penn State, it's red alert. It's DEFCON 2 leading to DEFCON 1. It is could be a season that you thought that Penn State would have been maybe, I want to say a lock for the NCAA tournament, but had control of their own destiny, could end the season, Austin, losing 3 games in a row after winning 3 games in a row. Remember, they beat Illinois pretty bad, beat Minnesota, beat Ohio State, but that also was before they had 1, 2, 3, and 4 losses. So they've been inconsistent, but they could end it 3-game losing streak. What that mean for Nebraska, right? That means Nebraska most likely, when you compare them and Wisconsin, has to win one of the last 2 to keep that 10 spot. Because when I look at Wisconsin's last 2 games, right, and they're led by Checky Hebron, and they've been playing. They're pretty good. They beat Iowa, lost to Michigan pretty tough. You got to think they play Purdue. That's probably an L, right? But then they play at Minnesota at 6:30 on FS1, and that's going to probably be the game. If Nebraska splits, Nebraska, I think, stays pat. If Nebraska goes 0-2, that means they're playing Wednesday. Am I correct in my thinking? I'm not big into this bracketology, but is that my guesstimation right there? That Wisconsin would leapfrog Nebraska if they win 1 game and Nebraska loses 2?
Yes, because right now, if you look at the Big Ten standings, Nebraska, Penn State, Wisconsin all have 8 wins. So even though Nebraska beat Wisconsin head-to-head, that only comes into play if they have the same record in terms of wins and losses in conference play. So if Nebraska gets skunked and Wisconsin goes 1-1, then yes, Wisconsin's ahead of Nebraska. I don't know exactly how the tiebreaker would work with Penn State. If Nebraska and Penn State end up with the same record, because those teams split the regular season series. So I'd need to dive into that a little bit more. And Jay, as you were going through those schedules, I would say Nebraska has the toughest road. I really would, because Michigan State, really solid. Again, they're going to be favored in Lincoln tomorrow night. That's a solid, talented team with still a lot on the line. And I know Nebraska has, the longest winning streak in the Big Ten at 4 right now.
Yeah.
I know they're playing really well, but momentum doesn't factor into Vegas lines. It really doesn't. Michigan State
No.
is up and down the roster, more talented. So you're going to be an underdog there. And then you go on the road to Iowa, a place that hasn't treated you well for their senior day. Oh, and you beat them earlier in the season. So they're going to be motivated. Nebraska's playing well enough. You hope they manage to pick off 1 of 2, but I don't think it's overly surprising, nor should it be overly disappointing if, Nebraska does go 0-2. What you need is help from other teams. You need Minnesota to play spoiler against Wisconsin. That goes a long way. Purdue's on a backslide. They're still more talented than Wisconsin. You take them to win that game. Penn State has the most fascinating schedule, though, because I think Northwestern and Penn State match up pretty well. You mentioned the guard matchup there. Pickett for Penn State, and then Bowie and Audige for Northwestern. Even throw Ty Berry into that mix. So I think those are 2 teams that could get up and down with their guards. And I'm fascinated to see that matchup. And Maryland's playing well, but they're going on the road. Maryland hasn't been very good on the road. They picked it up a little bit in Lincoln against Nebraska before ultimately falling short, but their road resume isn't really anything. So I would say it's most likely of those 3 teams that Penn State finds a way to win 2, but I still wouldn't be shocked if all 3 of those teams go 1-1 and we just have a big jumbled mess there in that 10, 11, 12 pecking order.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But Nebraska, if you got this far, look, you haven't gotten anything easy, right? So nobody's going to give you anything. And so you got to go take it. Now, whether you got to beat Michigan State or you got to go to Iowa and beat them. And at the end of the day, you'd like to think you win both of them. I think Nebraska has a ton of confidence right now, and it's not fake confidence. They've been through the grinder. You got 2 starters that have been a big part of Nebraska, optically looking like a better team, 2 leaders, two tough guys that you could depend on. Obviously played really well, in the beginning of the season and went up to Creighton and kind of showed what they can do. 2 of those guys are, it seems like back-to-back weeks are gone, not only for a couple weeks, but for the whole season. And then to go down the roster and get guys to step up, Lawrence, Hoiberg, Blaze Keita, obviously I know he's had the ankle problems, but the game that he came on and had 10 rebounds and done really well. So, and then Derek Walker, and then finding a way to get K-State to be consistently scoring over 20 points for 5 or 6 games. And then when he's getting, the focus of the defense, you got Sam Griesel to handle his business, Derek Walker. You had C.J. Walker play well. You had Sam Hoiberg and Lawrence. And so right now, Nebraska, should feel like they can go out and beat anybody. Now, look, is it going to be easy? No. But in the Big Ten, when you play in the Big Ten, nothing's easy. So, that it just comes down to them going out and playing the best that they, of their capabilities and see where it shakes out after that. Because ultimately, where they're at as a program is a lot farther than, anybody expected. And so, but this also doesn't mean that let's just be okay with, being one game above 500 and being okay. You worked hard. You had, there was a point where you're 4 or 5 games under 500 and people were wondering, should you just, close up shop and just forget about the whole season? Start looking at other coaches. People in Nebraska just start, thinking doom and gloom and it's over. Well, you have to have some sort of culture inside of those basketball walls to be able to face this type of adversity and inspire guys to come to practice every day, work hard, and then step up against the teams that they've beaten. So, look, right, like I said, Maryland's 21, Nebraska hung with them and not only beat them. And so here comes Michigan State. They're probably a little pissed off, but so what? Everybody right now is pissed off. You're tired. It's not very bright outside as far as it's not the best weather. You got to go on the road. Tom Izzo is probably puckered up real tight, and so is his team. But that doesn't mean that you just go and lay down and let them kind of, get a little bit of confidence boost for you. But you go and bring it to them, and then you test their will like people have tested your will. So right where Nebraska's at is a good place, but let's not be happy in this place right here. Let's go and finish this home part of the schedule off the right way in a primetime game. Because it's not just about this game. What you're putting out there is letting teams know here in a week or so, this is what you're going to get in the Big Ten. And what you've been hearing about Nebraska the last 5-6 games or 2 weeks or whatever is for real. And so it's a great opportunity for them to go out there and play. And they're playing a blue blood type of program in Michigan State. And so I'm sure they're excited. And they take the same approach that they had Saturday as they did, the games before. They'll be just fine. And I'm be interested in be tuning in and see what they do tomorrow night. Late game though, Austin, man. That's past my bedtime, man. I get those games that are on primetime TV. That game won't get over to what, 10:30?
If we're lucky. If it starts right at 8, it should be over by 10:30. Otherwise,
it starts right at 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, people be, I'm telling you one thing about PBA, like if it's an 8 o'clock, it's an 8 o'clock game. So that means like Longwells or whatever is down there, they're going to have plenty of business. And then it also means that, the crowd is going to be a little electric. And so, it might be a little bit of late game. And so if you're there and then you come out of that stadium and your head's ringing, it's a good thing. So look, man, it's something that they've earned. And now they got to keep it and go and, double down on it. So I'm interested to see what they do moving forward, both as a program and individually as players. So I'm excited for them. They deserve it. Hoiberg has came in a few times to the studio along with D. Walker, and those guys are a great bunch of kids. And so you got to be excited for the Nebraska basketball program, Nebraska athletics as well, just because, the men's side of stuff struggled. And it's good to have them have some positive stuff going on. Besides, having big time recruits there and having his name called. Have you ever had your name called? That I know you're pretty well known of greatness. When you go back to your old high school, do they say Austin? They call your name or what?
I got one chant. In high school. This would have been our Christmas tournament at Lincoln Lutheran that we hosted of my senior year. We're playing Elkhorn Mount Michael, and down the stretch, I was the one shooting all the free throws. So I got 2 1-and-1s that I hit all 4 of. I missed the front end of the first time I got to shoot 2, but I made the last 3. And I remember going to the line for the last time to push the lead. Would have been from 2 for my first ones to what ultimately ended up being a 9-point game after I go 7 of 8 at the free throw line, pat myself on the back for that retroactively. But yeah, walking up to the line that last time, I got a little Austin Orman.
Were you nervous though?
No, you're the free throw line. It's a free throw.
Okay, I just wanted to make you didn't airball it and just barely touch the rim, did you? You got to
Jay, I made it up. I made them both.
Okay.
That's what you do. They're free throws. You knock them home.
Yeah. All right. Well, I expected that. I knew it. I was just messing with you. So, anyways, good first segment. Austin, after coming back, this is the last long segment. I want to ask you, we're going to go like maybe a little rapid fire and then some NFL stuff. I want to really focus on if you were the GM for the Chicago Bears flying on your private jet headed to Indianapolis, what type of deals would you be looking for that pick, and what would you do? So think about it going into the break, and we're going to get your answers, and I'll be the GM as well and see if we have comparable answers. Austin and Jay Foreman after this break, Old School.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at nebraskaautodetail.com.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts, guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Lincoln. Hopcat is your pregame headquarters for basketball and volleyball all season long. Hopcat is located at 6th and P in the Haymarket. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com. Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Come see the state's largest display of John Deere equipment at Acres Ag and Turf Expo. Acres Ag professionals and suppliers will be on hand to discuss techniques from tillage and planting to application and harvest. Also, don't miss the full lineup of John Deere mowers and compact tractors. Join us at the Lincoln Lancaster Event Center March 8th and 9th. Go to acres.com to request your free tickets today.
Vershawn Jackson for Brant Excavating. Brant's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brant is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brant Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to BrantExcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brant Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, no big break.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
A few showers possible early this morning, then clearing with a high of around 56. It will be windy, northwest winds gusting over 35 to 40. Tonight mainly clear, a low down to around 28. We'll see increasing cloud cover tomorrow and cooler with a high near 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Pumps in a pumps in a we like the girls with the pumps in a pumps in a pumps in a we like the girls with the pumps in a pumps in a pumps in a we like the girls with the pumps in a pumps in a pumps in a give me the girls with the pumps in a just when I pump that I hit another slap slump up to the city with the pumps getting on my good nerves looking like ice cream ready to be served stretch it bend it till I get in it. Wanna give me with a G, baby, stand it. Cause I come a grip, read my lip, baby, you can see these slip. I just close and take a trip. Bumps in a bump, bumps in a bump. We like the girls with the bumps in a bump. Bumps in a bump, bumps in a bump. We like the girls with the bumps in a bump. Bumps in a bump, bumps in a bump.
We are back, Austin. I gotta ask you before we get into you being GM, man. How many times is the over under on one or two? How many times did you finally YouTube the Pumps and a Bump video with MC Hammer?
I did it once just to say I did because I had homework, but that's where it stopped that one time.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I think once you see MC Hammer in his leopard print bikini draws, I think that probably turns it out to YouTube. Plus, it's a grainy video, but. Like I said before we're going into break, Austin, I wanted to ask you about the Chicago Bears. You know, the rumor is, which will change 4 or 5 times. I think that a couple weeks ago they were talking about trading Justin Fields and drafting Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Now the report came out from Adam Schefter that the Bears are open for business. And whoever wants the number 1 pick, they're going to have to obviously pay handsomely for it. If you were the GM of the Chicago Bears, one of the most storied franchises in NFL history, with a quarterback that was single-handedly keeping you in the game, Justin Fields. You spent a top 12 pick on him. What would you do? Would you trade the pick and try to accumulate more picks, or would you keep it and go from there? What would you do?
What I would do is I would have everything done with Houston, have it right up there till about 15 minutes before the draft starts. Make sure you get a lot for it, pump the offer up. And then what I would do would be pull the chair out from under him, hand that first overall pick over to Indianapolis for the small price of a 2024 7th round pick, because everyone knows the NFL is better when the Indianapolis Colts are atop the AFC South and in the playoffs. So that's what I would do if I was the Bears GM.
Yeah, you know what, Austin? You know what they call that, man? I'm just gonna let you know. You know what they call that? And I don't know. They would call that insider trading.
Yeah, they would.
They would call that insider trading. You'd be working for. You'd be like an Enron.
Martha Stewart is who I would be.
Yeah, you be everybody, man, and anybody that deserves some time, that you be guilty of it. You would have you'd be like who you would be. You'd be like almost like the guy that when the Cubs were in the playoffs and he reached over and
Bartman.
Bartman. Between you guys would be fighting for who would be the most hated man in Chicago. So go right ahead and you do that. You see how well it worked out for you. And but
it would work out. Seriously though, what I would do is I would Indianapolis has quite a few, good picks in this draft. They're number 4. You can still get someone good if you trade back that far. Houston might be the best offer because they're picking number 2. You can slide
Right.
back one spot. If you can also pick up Houston's number 12 overall pick that they got from Cleveland, that could go away too, to give yourself, two
Right.
bites at the apple that high up. I think Houston can offer them, the best package for this year, depending on how the Bears have their board for this year's draft versus guys are looking at for next year.
Yeah, I mean, for them, for the Bears, if they feel, they should feel very very comfortable with Justin Fields. If you get the 2 and 12 from Houston, you can get Carter, the defensive tackle, known as he's the top pick, and you could do a lot of things with that 12. You could, if you wanted to get you could get the best offensive lineman. So it might be the big tackle from Northwestern, Peter Skoronski. You could get him. Yeah, you could get him. Probably might be there at 12. So now you're getting the bookend left tackle, the transcended defensive tackle, and Carter. And you're right. You're right there moving. And then if you could pick up possibly like a second round pick, you could probably get a pretty darn good receiver. And maybe one of the tight ends slip. Maybe you could get the tight end from South Dakota State, and I forget his last name, but he's the 5th ranked tight end, so you might be able to get him. You might be able to get Washington if he slips into the early second round, let alone with all the picks that you have. And so the only hang up I see is if Houston's willing to give up a 2 and a 12 to go up one slot.
Right.
That's the only thing. Would they give up the number 2 and maybe their first round pick for next year, and then maybe a high second round pick? Because I'm sure they're going to want to keep a first round pick to go along with that first pick, just because they are trying to do the same things that the Bears are trying to do, is get high quality first round draft choices with a ton of cap space. At least I'm speaking for the Houston Texans, with a ton of cap space and a lot of ability to move and a lot of holes to fill. And plus, let's not forget, first year coach DeMeco Ryans wants to have his quarterback. So I'm sure if there's a better way to show not only the fans and the coach that you're serious, is make sure that he has the quarterback of his choice in this first year, especially if he feels very strongly about a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young. Because if he feels comfortable, or if I'm talking about DeMeco Ryans and the powers that be, say about a CJ Stroud or say like a Will Levis, right? You can actually still pick number 2 and get your Will Anderson, get your Jalen Carter, get whoever you want number 2, and find a way to move up, from that 12 spot to get in there to get a quarterback, and you're knocking 2 birds out with one stone. So it's not a foregone conclusion, like I said, for the Bears to be able to negotiate from a super strong point, because it's not that big a leap up. Now, if Houston was going from the 12 to the 1 without the 2, then you could ask for a king's ransom. Now, I think if it's somebody like your Colts that wants Bryce Young, they're projected, and every projection has always been CJ Stroud. Now let's just think the coach and the GM, we want Bryce Young, and we will do whatever it takes with Jim Irsay. Then I think, when Chicago does call your Colts, they are asking for a king's ransom, and I think it would include one of those all-star players on defense. Let's not forget that. Or one of those highly paid offensive linemen that underproduced this year. Because here's where the advantage is, not only for the Bears. Bears have salary cap space. They get a veteran player, a well-established player, but then also the Colts get to create more cap space, all the while they're losing a draft choice. Because you got to I would think, okay, we're going to lose a draft choice, so we're going to need some cap space to go and get a veteran, or possibly 2 veterans to possibly make up for that draft choice. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure the talks have been going on before they get on the planes to head out to Indianapolis, but I think they really heat up, on those late night talks over coffee, right, Austin?
Right.
I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
any executives drink any alcoholic beverages, and while they're trying to make some decisions and go from there. So it'd be interesting to see how this goes and where they go with it, because it's going to shape about 4 or 5 franchises here in the near future with this draft.
Right. I'll add this too. There's not a wrong time to pick a franchise quarterback. It's hard to give up too much for an all-pro quarterback, not just all-star quarterback, but in terms of all-pro, first, second, third team. The Chiefs are making that Patrick Mahomes trade 11 times out of 10. The Bills are taking Josh Allen where they did 11 times out of 10. Even Joe Burrow, going first overall. The Bengals are making that pick every time. So there's not a bad time, not a bad place to pick a franchise guy, but you do have to be careful. You have to be 100% sold on a guy and 100% committed to the guy that you choose in that spot. Because if you're going to, go for it, to trade up and go get a guy that you think can be a franchise quarterback, you can't one-cheek it. You got to go all in on him and, keep enough capital to support him, but make sure you make a good enough offer so you can go get your guy. So if it does take, for Houston's example, if it does take 2 and 12 to move up to number 1, to take Stroud or Young, if that's their guy,
then you got to go do it.
All-pro, you have to. You can't not do it. You can't afford to wait around. But if, they turn out to be fine, 15th, 16th in the league type of guy, occasional Pro Bowl appearances, probably not worth it because you could have used one of those picks to, surround him with another piece. So you got to be a little careful, but you also have to be aggressive when the time's right.
Yeah, you definitely don't trade up, give away a 2 and a 12 to draft Brandon Whedon or a Christian Ponder or somebody like that. And like you're completely right. There is every time if you feel he's a franchise quarterback, you got to go all in on him. But then there's also a caveat to it. You go all in on drafting him, then you got to go all in on surrounding him with the pieces to make him a franchise quarterback. Now I want to ask you this, and we got about 3 minutes. Out of the quarterbacks, right? Young, Stroud, Levis, Richardson. In your guesstimation of those 4, who are franchise quarterbacks, or who would you take? I guess who would you think they're franchise quarterbacks out of those 4?
Stroud and Young, I feel really good about. Stroud has the big arm, but also has the touch. Really good ball placement. If he can learn to process just a little bit faster, I mean, he's running some NFL concepts, but he also has the best guys on the field to throw to at Ohio State. So that makes his life easier, but he's still got the ball to him. He has the size to do it. So I think Stroud's there. Bryce Young is, a little more pocket Hercules-esque, smaller, obviously, but I think he's, a good fit for the modern NFL with how he can move, with how creative he can be while still being an adequate pocket passing quarterback. And playing at Alabama, you get that education. You know how to run a team. And again, you have those weapons. Levis and Richardson are lottery tickets. They could be good. You can talk me into both of them. But given that I'm a Colts fan, given they're picking there and at least one of those 4 quarterbacks will be available to them at 4, I don't know if I trust either one of those guys enough to say, yeah, I'm going all in on it. Maybe they have it in them physically. Maybe they have it in them mentally. Just didn't see it as consistently from Levis and Richardson as we did from Stroud and Young. So I think Stroud and Young can thrive in more systems than Levis and Richardson can. I think the last 2 guys will have to be catered to a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the ultimate wild card is Richardson. I was listening and reading some reports where there's a handful of teams obviously, view him as a first-round pick and some view him as he could be a fourth-round pick. And then you got Will Levis, who I think he had a really good year. Obviously, throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson and had a couple of NFL offensive linemen and a running back. And then, of course, he looked a lot better. And then this year, those guys are gone. And it just so happens to be this part of, when you don't have the people around you. I'm not so sure he's anything more than Kenny Pickett. I'm really not. I know they tried to compare him to Josh Allen. There's one Josh Allen, and he's an alien. Just because he's 6'5", and for whatever reason he puts mayonnaise in his coffee, just for that alone, you're not a franchise quarterback, right? But here's what I think. I think C.J. Stroud has the better arm, has really good touch. Like you're right. I think he does. He's probably ran. Well, Bill O'Brien was there, so he's run some NFL concepts. I think he has sneaky running ability, even but he hasn't had to. So he can kind of beat you with those 3rd and 6s and stuff like that. But I think that with Bryce Young, he has that it factor, right? When you look at Alabama's talent pool around him, it's not what it's used to, what you're used to seeing at Alabama from the receiver standpoint, running back standpoint. The offensive line is young and wasn't very dominant this year. But C.J. Stroud always was able to keep them in the game and make big time throws, big time plays, off kilter, off balance. And I think that's what's really appealing, and his leadership skills, right? And here's what else goes a little bit farther. He played in his bowl game, him and Will Anderson. It was a football game to play. Don't think that they aren't calling down to Nick Saban and asking him what makes Bryce Young tick, and can he lead a franchise, right? The last two quarterbacks that played for Nick Saban, right? Tua and obviously Jalen Hurts, signed off by him, leadership. And both of them are playing really well. Obviously, Tua's got a little bit of injury history, but Nick Saban is thought of as far as leadership qualities, somebody you go to. So, I think it's really going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend, or if anything comes out of the combine. But we'll see. And that was a good segment there, man. It's awesome that the first part of your GM tenure was probably going to be as short as possible, but the second part was very, very good. I'm proud that you made a comeback there, Austin. So we're going to go to break, and then we're going to have a short segment before we get into some Mac Jones, Andrew, my bad. So before we get into the last little quick segment, we're going to talk a little high school basketball. It's do or die Brooklyn, New York. Tip-off is about to be at some places in 13 minutes. Sphincter muscles are tight, but ours are wide open and ready to go. Jay Foreman and Austin, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with DP&J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Come see the state's largest display of John Deere equipment at Acres Ag and Turf Expo. Acres Ag professionals and suppliers will be on hand to discuss techniques from tillage and planting to application and harvest. Also, don't miss the full lineup of John Deere mowers and compact tractors. Join us at the Lincoln Lancaster Event Center March 8th and 9th. Go to acres.com to request your free tickets today.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman. Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back in the future. Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top shelf liquor to crowd favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Meeting your goal of having a healthy diet has never been easier than with the Venue at Home Healthy Living subscription. Chef-inspired meals that are health-conscious and delivered right to your door every week. All you have to do is heat and eat. We offer delicious entrees, gluten-free pastas, fresh rice bowls, soups, salads, and more. Build your own package as a subscription to receive meals every week, designed to help you meet your dietary goals. Order your custom healthy meal package today at venueathome.net.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club or space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. Back to old school with DP and J.
We are back. Quick segment. Austin and Jay Foreman. We went a little over, so we got about 2 or 3 minutes. Austin, I mentioned it. It's districts here, I think, for Class A and Class B. It's win or go home. Class B doesn't have any wild cards, but Class A does have one, and it's all built on a point system. That, like a lot of things that has to do with getting into tournaments, NCAA tournaments, men and women's, I have no idea. I don't know about tier 1, tier 2 losses. I don't know about points. I don't believe in getting points if you play a good team and lose, but that's the way it's going. So it's going to be interesting to see, how this, how it goes, and you will know shortly. The game, you got a game. I think the only game that starts at 6 is Millard North against Kearney, and the rest of them are at 7. But, this is a big opportunity for a lot of players. It's pretty much parity in Class A. Class B, I think, has a few teams that feel they can win. Class C has an overwhelming favorite in Auburn and Wahoo. So it's going to be big times there in the next 2 weeks down there at Pinnacle Bank, with obviously the girls' state championships kicking off this week. And the boys are deciding it here tonight. Do or die on a Monday night, Austin. Do or die, Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, sir. I mean, this is what you live for as a high school athlete. You get down to districts, you fight your way through a full season. Winning a sub-district is cool, but then you get one more chance to go prove it, right? You can kind of break it down too. If you look at kind of the bigger picture, this is a Sweet 16 game here, Jay, for these teams in a lot of ways. You get this, you're in the Elite 8. That's what it comes down to. So you've already, had your first taste of postseason basketball in your sub-districts. You get seeded, you'll get your matchup, you move on to the next one with, some prep time, but not necessarily a whole lot. And this is it. You'll get your week off after you get your district game in till the end of next week to rest up and prepare. But there's so few things like that end of year, sub-district and district football. And then you get down to district and sub-district basketball. It's just fun because you have those teams like, your Bell Wests, your Wahoos that are, really big favorites in their classes. You have, upstarts like Kearney going on the road to Millard North, the way they won their sub-district. You have a wide open Class B with the names and some you don't. So there's something for everybody if you know where to look.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I know it's going to be a lot of coverage. So obviously check Twitter, and you know what, now they stream the games, and so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. It's a lot of work, and the sub districts is good, and you're playing some teams from before, so it's hard to beat teams that are familiar. There's a lot of teams in Class A that played before, and so they knew they'd see each other. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see who comes out on it. We'll probably cover it some tomorrow. But good show, like always, to start this week off. State championship time. Huskers are doing well. Austin and Jay are doing well. With Strick, we're in 3 different places, but we all have one mind, one thought process. So Old School on a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow holding it down. Austin and Jay Foreman. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts, guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Lincoln. Hopcat is your pregame headquarters for basketball and volleyball